There are messages that arrive in the light of day. And then there are messages that come wrapped in mystery, meant only for those who dare to look deeper. This is one of them. If you've stumbled upon this message, it's not by accident. There's something you need to hear before the clock strikes midnight, something that could change the entire course of your life. There are certain truths that are not meant to be revealed when we demand them, but when we are spiritually prepared to receive them. The timing of revelation is not random, it is divine. What you perceive as delay is often a layer of protection. Sometimes, heaven hides a message because premature exposure could destroy what it's meant to develop. You see, there are seasons in your life where silence is not God's absence, but His strategy. He hides certain truths because the version of you that existed yesterday wasn't ready to carry what your tomorrow requires. When the right moment comes, what was hidden suddenly begins to unfold. The confusion begins to make sense. The pain starts to reveal purpose. That is divine timing at work. Midnight symbolizes that sacred turning point, the space between what was and what will be. It is the hour where endings meet beginnings. It's in that quiet transition that revelation descends, not with thunder, but with a whisper that can change everything. If you have ever felt like God was silent, it was not because He had nothing to say. It was because He was aligning the right people, the right moment, and the right conditions for you to finally understand what He has been preparing all along. Just as seeds must stay hidden in the dark before they can bloom, certain messages are concealed in your seasons of waiting. The darkness you feared was never your burial, it was your preparation ground. When the clock approaches midnight, that's when hidden truths begin to surface. The reason this message found you now is because heaven has decided that you are ready. Ready to see what you couldn't see before. Ready to understand what once confused you. Ready to walk in what was promised. Divine revelation never arrives early or late. It arrives right on time. So when this message comes to you, don't take it lightly. You're standing at the threshold of transformation, and midnight is your signal that the waiting is over. There are moments in life when God sends a message so vital that even the noise of the world cannot silence it. It may not come through thunder or lightning, but through a quiet stirring deep within your spirit. A sense that something important is calling for your attention. This message isn't random, it carries the weight of purpose. It comes at a time when distractions are many and faith feels thin. Yet it finds its way to you, because you were meant to receive it. You may have ignored similar signals before, brushed off the subtle nudges, but this one refuses to fade. It's persistent because it carries divine urgency. The truth is, many people go through life hearing, but never truly listening. They are surrounded by noise, the chatter of fear, the opinions of others, the chaos of daily life. And somewhere in that noise, the divine voice gets buried. But this message breaks through the static. It is a reminder that you haven't been forgotten, that heaven still has its eyes on you, and that your calling is still active, even if it feels delayed. When this message comes, it's not to condemn you but to awaken you. It's to remind you that what you carry inside you, the dream, the promise, the vision, is still alive. There were forces that tried to stop this message from reaching you. The enemy works tirelessly to keep you distracted, wounded, and uncertain, because he knows that revelation births transformation. Yet, no amount of darkness can hide what God has destined for light. The very fact that this message reached you means that destiny has outlasted opposition. It was hidden for a time, not to keep it from you, but to ensure it would reach you at the exact moment your heart was ready to receive it. This is that moment. Don't look away. Don't dismiss it as coincidence. This message has been chasing you through the noise for a reason. To remind you that purpose delayed is not purpose denied, and what was meant for you is finding its way back home. There is a reason why some truths remain hidden until the right moment. Not everything sacred is meant to be exposed too soon. Just as treasure is buried deep beneath the earth, certain divine revelations are concealed beneath the surface of your struggles, waiting for the right season to be unearthed. When something carries great value, it is protected. The same principle applies to the truths that heaven withholds, not to deny you, but to preserve what is precious. God hides certain insights within the silence, because if they were revealed too early, they might be misunderstood, mishandled, or even lost. Hidden truth carries weight. It shapes your patience, tests your faith, and purifies your motives. During seasons of uncertainty, when you can't see the full picture, your trust is refined. You are being trained to value revelation, not to rush it. Midnight, in this sense, represents the sacred boundary between the old and the new, between blindness and sight. It's that silent, unseen hour when clarity begins to form in the dark. What once seemed confusing starts to take shape, and the pieces of your journey begin to align. There's power in realizing that silence is not the absence of meaning. The quiet seasons of your life are often where the deepest truths are growing. God allows you to walk through moments where answers seem distant, so your heart can be prepared to carry the truth once it's revealed. If everything were shown too soon, you might not have the strength or wisdom to handle it. But when revelation finally comes, it arrives with undeniable clarity and peace, and it changes everything. So if you find yourself in a waiting season, don't mistake it for abandonment. What's hidden is not lost. It's being guarded until your spirit matures enough to handle its weight. Midnight is not a moment of fear. It's the moment when hidden truth prepares to step into the light. The treasure is closer than you think, buried not to stay unseen, but to be found by the one willing to seek with faith. The greatest danger to your destiny isn't always destruction. It's distraction. The world has mastered the art of keeping you busy, but spiritually empty. The enemy doesn't need to destroy you if he can simply distract you. He surrounds you with endless noise, constant notifications, opinions, fears, and temptations that pull your attention away from what truly matters. Every distraction is a deliberate attempt to make you forget who you are and what you were called to do. That's why this message was hidden. It had to be kept out of reach until you could quiet the chaos long enough to hear it clearly. In stillness, truth is revealed, but the world hates stillness because it leads to awareness. The enemy knows that if you ever stop long enough to reflect, you'll remember that you were created with purpose. You'll begin to recognize the spiritual warfare around you for what it really is. A calculated plan to drain your energy, cloud your vision, and separate you from divine alignment. That's why attacks intensify right before breakthrough. The closer you get to clarity, the louder the noise becomes. This message reaches you now to call you back to focus. It's not just about avoiding distraction, it's about learning to discern what deserves your attention. Every day you give your energy to things that have no eternal weight. Arguments that don't matter, fears that never come true, people who don't see your value. But when you refocus on what's sacred, the noise begins to fade, and peace starts to rise. Understand this: the enemy fears your stillness, because stillness gives birth to revelation. When you stop running, you start hearing. When you silence the noise, you can finally recognize the whisper of truth that's been chasing you all along. The pressure you're feeling isn't punishment. It's proof that revelation is near. You're standing on the edge of understanding something powerful, and that's why distractions have surrounded you. Break through the noise, and you'll uncover what was hidden. Your purpose, your clarity, and the divine message meant only for you. A message alone has no power unless it's opened, read, and acted upon. Revelation is not meant to make you curious. It's meant to make you move. Every divine message requires a response, and your reaction determines what happens next. You can either let it pass you by, or you can open it with faith, believing that what's inside was sent specifically for you. Too many people hear truth, but never allow it to transform them. They listen, but they don't respond. They see signs, but they don't shift. This is why some never experience breakthrough, not because God didn't speak, but because they didn't act. Your response is the bridge between hearing and becoming. When you open your heart to divine truth, you give permission for transformation to begin. Faith isn't just believing that the message is real. It's stepping into alignment with what it demands of you. That means letting go of fear, surrendering control, and obeying even when you don't understand the full picture. The message that found you wasn't meant to entertain your thoughts. It was meant to awaken your spirit. There comes a moment when hesitation becomes disobedience. Heaven will not reveal new instructions to someone who ignores the last message sent. That's why the timing of your response is critical. When you respond with faith, the doors that were locked begin to open, clarity floods your path, and the strength you didn't know you had begins to rise. Every great transformation in Scripture and in life began with a response. A yes, a surrender, a willingness to move forward, even when the destination was unclear. You are not a spectator in your story. You are a participant. This hidden message was never meant to be analyzed from a distance. It was meant to be lived. You hold the key to its fulfillment. When you open it with faith and act on what it reveals, heaven moves with you. Your response activates the promise, and your obedience becomes the very door through which destiny enters your life. Midnight has always carried a certain mystery. It is the hour when one day ends and another begins, a sacred intersection between darkness and light. Spiritually, it represents transition, a divine moment when hidden things come to the surface and unseen shifts take place. Before midnight strikes, there is always a choice to be made, to remain asleep in comfort, or to awaken to the truth that has been pursuing you. Midnight is not just a time on the clock. It is a symbol of awakening. It is the moment when your spirit must decide whether to keep dreaming or to rise and walk into destiny. This message was hidden until now because this hour demands awakening. The world is asleep, distracted, numb, unaware. But those who are spiritually alert can sense the urgency. Midnight is when promises are fulfilled, when chains break, and when destiny calls the courageous to rise. It's when heaven whispers, "No." The reason the message reached you at this exact moment is because you are standing on the threshold of transformation. The decisions you make in this hour will determine the direction of your next season. There is a reason urgency fills the air before breakthrough. The closer you get to revelation, the more resistance you feel. That's why this message tells you to open it before midnight. You cannot carry yesterday's fear into tomorrow's promise. The clock is moving, and heaven is waiting for your response. Midnight marks the dividing line between delay and destiny, between who you were and who you are called to become. When the clock strikes 12, opportunities shift, doors open, and revelation demands action. This is not the time to hesitate. The world may sleep, but those who are awake will see the dawn of something extraordinary. This is your moment to rise, to open what's been hidden, and to walk boldly into what's been prepared for you. Midnight isn't the end, it's the beginning of awakening. When the clock strikes 12, the world will sleep, but the awakened will rise. Open the message. The hour is now.